If everyone says we sound good, I'm going to hit record, and now we can fill for a minute. Whoa, Squee! Squee had Nintendo Power from like 40-something to like 125-ish. Remember Nintendo Power selling you on being the 64DD being a thing I would get someday. Yeah.
Yeah, they sold us on a lot of things we thought were going to be awesome.
Well, if you as a kid, I was like, this is amazing. As an adult, I'm like, this is absolutely advertising. This is 100% advertising. I always liked that they didn't have ads. They had more strategy content. It's because the whole thing is an ad.
Yeah, so. It was totally advertising, but at least it was like creative and entertaining and informative while, selling you Nintendo stuff.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. Man, look, Squeeze in the chat on a Thursday night. I'm tempted to be like, dude, get on the call. Mike didn't read the assignment properly, so Mike's not prepared. I wasn't terribly clear though, so that's actually my fault. Anyway. What let's see. I lost that Wikipedia page. Oh, it would be in the browser, wouldn't it? Jesus Christ. There it is.
Edit this game.
I know, I'm an idiot. Okay, there we go. Oh, your D&D game is running late. Gotcha. That's okay, we're running late. All right. Recording has started. We've now been recording for 2 minutes. Yeah, we're good. Okay, here we go. Ow, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 634 of the Mana Pool, which is, and I quote, not a small number. And I am Chewy. Yay!
Yay!
So we didn't do a show last week because we had this topic all ironed out as a thing to do, and none of us remembered that Brian wasn't going to be here last week. And Brian, stupidly assuming that we remembered, wasn't bothering to check the Google chat.
No, well, I was checking, but I was like, they're not talking to me, right? Because I've told each of them in the last week I'm not going to be there. Sir, and you are capable of recording without me.
Yeah, but this is one of those fun topics that would be wrong to do without one of us.
I would have been a little disappointed, but I thought maybe you'd move on to another topic, and I eventually had to be like, not going to be there.
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, crap, what do we do then? And we all were like,
That's about exactly what it was.
That is. And since over the last month or so, my life has sort of been falling apart around me, I was like, you know what? Let's just take the week off. So we did, and it was awesome. But now, we're all here again. And the topic for tonight is something I'm not going to tell you yet because we haven't introduced ourselves. So it's late, so I'll just do this quickly. I'm Chewy. Over there is Brian.
Hey.
That one was Brian. The one that Brian is pointing at is Mike.
Yeah, Hello. That's not me.
See?
That's him. Yep.
And the one that's looking around aimlessly is Dirk.
That's me. Who? What's that?
Huh?
Huh?
So, right. It's late. That's the only reason I ran through that quickly. So, the topic this week is something that is relatively what's the word I'm looking for? Relevant.
Topical? Yeah.
Topical. That's another one, like sunburn cream. Because as you know, a few weeks ago they announced the casting of the Nintendo movie, which most of which was fine, but the main casting made us all go, what? And it made the internet collectively go, what? Even my mom, I read off the cast to mom and dad, and mom was like, Chris Pratt as Mario? I said, yeah. She went, why? I'm like,
I love me some Chris Pratt, and yeah.
and like, even when I said Jack Black was Bowser, mom was like, I can see that. The old man went, who? We were like, never mind. What was the other one mom thought was cool? Oh, she also dug Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. Not as much as I do. I thought that was brilliant. Mom was like, isn't he like a stoner guy? I was like, yeah. She's like, huh. That might work. But anyway, so yeah, this week we're going to talk about video game movies. Not movies that have like video game elements, so not like Free Guy, which I don't think any of us have seen yet.
I have not. It looks fun.
It does. I've heard really good things about it.
I mean, I like Ryan Reynolds and I like Wreck-It Ralph, so I try not to learn a whole lot about it, but it sounds like it's live action Wreck-It Ralph. Kinda, sorta.
With a bit of revolution thrown in.
Right. Like, if he didn't know. Wait a minute. Yeah.
Excuse me. But, yeah, Wreck-It Ralph is another one that's not actually based on any video games. It's just got video game stuff in it. Scott Pilgrim is another one.
Yep.
That has video... Like, when Brian and I saw it in theaters way back, I was like, this is the best video game movie that has ever been made. But that's not quite what we're doing this week.
No. Still true and still correct. It's not relevant for what we're doing.
Yeah. So, we're going to first look back at the video game movies of old. And what a mixed bag that is. And then we're going to start looking forward to see what could be a good movie.
Yeah. What games would really lean themselves toward decent movies? Let me just say, I kind of enjoyed doing the homework for this episode. It's amazing how many video games are based on movies. So, like, you're going through, and I'm like, what about Aladdin? I'm like, because that's based on a movie, not the other way around. Yeah. So,
like, you know who I think would make a really cool movie? Batman.
There you go. How many Batman, Spider-Man, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, I actually caught myself at one point while I was scrolling through Launchbox looking at all of these. And I was like, oh man, you know what would be really good? I was looking at the Jurassic Park collection. And I'm like, oh man, Jurassic Park on the Super Nintendo was so good. That would make a good wait. And like my brain came to a screeching halt and I went, am I an idiot? Oh my god, I'm an idiot.
No, I'm pretty sure everybody had at least one of those moments. Because think about it, not to get us way off topic, but video games are tough. And they take a lot of time to produce. You need programmers, you need marketing, artists, and hey, half the work, not half, but a decent amount of the work in world building is done when you take an existing property. What's something people like to see? Movies. Done. Next.
But so before we get to all that, let's look backwards. So the first infamous video game movie, at least movie specifically based on a video game property, as far as I know, was Super Mario Brothers.
Saw this one in the theater, and Mom was even later like, that was a terrible movie, and my 10-year-old self was like, it was Mario. And then later I was like, what did I enjoy about it? And I'm like, that's tough.
Mario and Luigi Mario.
which apparently is canon. So, congratulations, it contributed something.
And
you can have.
yeah,
Sorry.
Ben just pointed out in the chat the best line in the whole movie is "monkey." Like, that's sad, but it really is the best part of that movie.
You can have some fun. I know we're not spending a ton of time on every movie, but I mean, this is where it all started. You can have a lot of fun now going on YouTube and other places and finding like commentary because a lot of the actors kind of knew this is questionable. I guess who played Mario?
Bob Hoskins. Bob
Hoskins.
Hoskins called it hell.
Yeah, apparently he was physically injured during the shooting of this movie.
Yeah,
So
his wrist or his arm or his hand or something.
mm,
Was that before or after he decided to just be drunk every day? He and John Leguizamo.
I think it was after.
Okay.
may not be completely unrelated, but clearly still not a very safe environment.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it was bad from like the ground up. Every aspect of it was just bad.
Yeah.
From
Like
a
I said, the
production
directors were
standpoint and writing, the directors were
just horrid.
tyrants. Like, it was all awful. And it also has zero to do with the source material other than names.
Mm-hmm.
Although it did have Yoshi, which I don't think Yoshi was a thing yet, right?
It was brand new.
Or it was brand new, yeah.
Yeah, Yoshi was a brand new thing. It had a connection to the game. It was just like a weird dystopian grim dark version of it.
I mean, like, so you had toads and fungus in it, but the way it was played off was very different. If you went in there and you knew anything about the games, then you might as well not, because knowing anything about the games didn't really bring you anything.
In fact, knowing about the games made it worse. Because you spent the whole movie going, no. What?
I remember I have not seen this movie since it came out. I only saw it the one time. I still remember that there's a little infographic at the beginning of the movie of like, what if the dinosaurs didn't die off? And it's got like a really cheap looking like dinosaur with a moving mouth, like being like, what if we didn't die out or something. I don't remember the specifics, but it looked so cheap, and I thought it was a really weird way to start a movie I was excited to see. Of like, is this what I'm gonna watch? You know, it just was very like school. Those movies though they make you watch in school of PSAs and that sort of stuff. But like the one that your own gym teacher made for this class.
Damn.
Someone interrupt me, please.
Being the youngest of this group at the time, I would have, I was much less discerning and much easier to impress than you guys were. I remember enjoying it. But I was also a younger kid than you guys were at the time.
I mean, it wasn't until later that and I don't mean like years later, I mean like later that week that I was like, huh. I think it was more of my mom being like, that was not a good movie. And I was like, why? It was Mario. Shouldn't it be good? And then later I was like,
wasn't it Mario? Wait.
like the parts where he jumped.
My recollection was the movie was good the first time I watched it, and then the second time I realized I didn't really enjoy the movie, and it seemed really silly. And it was, let's see if we can just cram some of these. Oh, well, they're going to have fireballs. Well, you have to have this gun that does the fireballs and the super. Yeah. It got really silly really fast as I had other movies as a reference point to say, this is what a really good movie and a movie you want to watch again And this movie, I wanted to watch again, and then I watched it and thought, I really don't want to ever watch this movie again. Ever. And I haven't.
So this was one of the first, if not the first, actual video game movies. I have yet to see the Pong movie. I hear it's repetitive. But,
Wow.
Yep.
But yeah, this was, as is the case with so many of the these early video game movies, it's a case of the creators of the films not understanding the source material at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was like they waffle back and forth between, we'll just slap the name on it, which is almost what Mario Brothers was.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could remove all of the Mario names and it would just be a weird sci-fi, like, not Blade Runner movie.
Which is honestly super fitting, because you know what they did with Mario 2 was Mario 2 was like a reskinned
Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah. So this is just a reskinned movie, John Leguizamo movie, and they're just like, oh, by the way, he's Mario, and that's Koopa.
Oh yeah, he wasn't even Bowser. He was King Koopa.
Which was still better. It always annoyed me. It's one of those really little things. I think as a kid, I was probably caught up in details too. Then on the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, they always called him Koopa, and I'm like, isn't he Bowser? I don't know. I thought the name Bowser was a lot more impressive. But then we hit Street Fighter.
Street Fighter was the next movie on here that I've seen.
Oh, you guys didn't see Double
Dragon? I think I've seen Double Dragon. But I don't remember it having any. I don't remember anything about the movie.
No, that's exactly what you're supposed to remember of Double Dragon. Bill made me watch it, or he brought it up once, and I ended up making him watch it with me as part of a watch party back when I did watch parties on Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And the best way to watch Double Dragon is with Bill, it turns out. Like.
I remember seeing this movie many times in the grocery store that my parents went to when I was a kid. Had a whole section on video on movies to rent, rather than going to like Blockbuster or anything. It was just at the local grocery store, and I remember seeing it there many times, and never being like, yeah, let's get this time. That's about my exposure to it, is seeing the box.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything. It's another of those where they just sort of slap the names on it. Like, okay, you're Billy and you're Jimmy, and look, there's a guy who's shaped funny. We'll call him a Bobo. What? And there's talismans and mystic powers. None of that is... What? Other than people fighting, that's it. That's the only connection. It's really funny, though, that one of those guys, I forget which one, because Billy and Jimmy have always been basically the same character, was actually the guy from Iron Chef. You know, the guy who would rip the... I never watched Iron Chef America, so I can't think of the word for him. But the guy that would rip the cover off of the food and say... all dramatically, oh, this is what you're playing. You know, that guy.
Cuisine. Yeah, the chairman.
The chairman, if that's right. Yeah, that guy. That was one of the guys from Double Dragon. And really, that's the best thing we got from Double Dragon.
It had Alyssa Milano in it?
Yeah, a blonde, short-haired Alyssa Milano dressed in bright colors. Mark Dacascos. Yes, thank you. That's his name. I didn't want to name and shame, but Shifuji named him, so I'll do it. But anyway, so that was Double Dragon. Then yeah, Street Fighter. I like Street Fighter, the movie, but not because it's good.
I have not seen it, but I think I have seen all the best parts.
I mean, there aren't that many best parts. To be perfectly honest, every scene where Raul Julia is on screen is the best part.
I mean, yeah.
Like, he was in a stupid ass movie and he knew it and he was chewing the scenery.
I mean, yeah. For me, it was just another. It was like a great movie, but for him, it was just Tuesday.
It was a
right?
Tuesday,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew he was. I mean, he hammed that up.
Yeah, he did.
And it was epic because of it.
It is really sad that this was Raul Julia's
last
last performance.
It was not his last performance, but for some reason that's become the thing to say.
Really? What was his performance after this?
I have no idea, but there's another movie that came out like almost a year later, if I remember correctly.
I mean, the running quote unquote joke. It's not joke like funny, but the running thing was poor Raul Julia was killed by Street Fighter. Was what I heard as a kid, because it was like, oh, couldn't have anything else to his name. Raul Julia was so awesome. I wasn't even a big Addams Family fan, like, of the series, and I thought the movie was okay. I didn't get it as a kid. Like, I just thought, wow, these people are weird. But even still, I'm like, that's a great actor. And yeah. But I've never seen the movie. All I know is Raul Julia.
Apparently there was a TV movie called Down Came a Blackbird that came out in 95.
Okay.
Yeah, this is it. I recognize his look in this movie. This was his actual last released work. Thank goodness it wasn't Street Fighter. That's like, the last thing that oh crap. Citizen Kane. What, his name just fell right off of my face.
Orson Welles.
Well, yeah, the last thing that Orson Welles did was the voice of Unicron in Transformers the movie. What?
Well, at least that was a good movie.
I mean, to us, yeah. To him, he was like, what the hell? But yeah, Street Fighter, like, it was... Instead of doing the source material, it was just checking boxes. Like, oh, crap, we need the green guy. We'll just have him show up at the end, and there. Okay, nailed it. Dalsim. Who the hell's Dalsim? We've got an Indian guy on cast, right? Okay, we'll shave his head. We'll say it's him. Okay, got it. Next. Like, E. Honda and Balrog were working for Chun-Li. What? Like, it did not care at all.
The thing is there were a lot of really well-known people in this movie. Because they had Raul Julia, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Ming-Na Wen. Like, if you don't know who that is,
what?
That is.
I had no idea.
Because she's been in everything since then.
Wait, who? What?
Ming-Na Wen.
Oh, yeah, she's all over the place these days.
Yeah, Mulan and everything else. She's been in
She was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yep.
God, what? Yeah, her filmography is full of great stuff.
She was also the voice. I forgot about this completely. She was the voice of Aki Ross in Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, which we'll get to in a minute.
Oh wow.
She's in the Book of Boba Fett, so that means she was in The Mandalorian. She was in The Bad Batch.
Oh, she was in Mando, wasn't she? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Street Fighter was like, rather than take the source material, like it's the other problem with these early video game movies is they're embarrassed that their source material is a video game. So they don't, for the most part, take it seriously. They just sort of, well, we can't have a fighting tournament. That's stupid. We've got all these characters, so this one works for Chun-Li. Fine, whatever. Like, isn't this one of the bad guys? Shut up. No one cares. As long as he's in the movie, it's all that matters. Like, it just... It's
Yeah,
sad.
they never really set up or even insinuated that this person is this. It's just this person kind of comes in. They really don't give you any sense of what this person's function is.
Like Ken and
And
Ryu
that's
were
sort of the
arms
thing
dealers.
is,
What?
yeah. And as always, it's probably easiest to just go like, just have a story, pick which characters we can be woven in and out of the story, and say we're just going to do the like 6 characters, and that allows you to give some sort of background or reference, so that way there actually is a plot. And this movie just, yeah, it was what the description I would give is it was a movie that said we're going to try and sell as many action figures as possible. So we need to include as many people as possible. It doesn't matter what they're doing as long as they're in there. And that was Street Fighter.
Yeah. And then we come to one of my favorite early video game movies, Mortal Kombat. The first Mortal Kombat movie.
This was the best
Yes.
early
Yes.
video game movies. And this is the one I would say they said we're gonna have this movie. We're gonna include characters. We're gonna have our core characters in it, and we'll maybe add a few here and there. But it's really needs to be about the core characters, and just have like 6 or 7, 8 characters, and that's all the movie really needs to have.
It's so funny that this followed up Street Fighter less than a year later, because whereas you said, like with Street Fighter, they're like, the premise doesn't work, so we're going to change it. Mortal Kombat was like, yeah, this is a tournament. That's great that the story starts to write itself. And instead of going the other way, they kind of embraced it. They took what was in the game and they used it as source material for the movie. What a radical concept.
Yeah.
It was the first one that didn't, like Super Mario Brothers, as you said, could have been anything. Double Dragon, I didn't see, you said it sounded completely different. Street Fighter, completely different. This was the first one that really said, we're not ashamed for this to be about a video game.
And I think it helped that because it's a game about a tournament, you can, with like a very rudimentary background, that you could actually make a movie that kind of had characters that actually gave you a little bit of backstory. So you have a frame of reference as to why they're doing what they're doing. You have a frame of reference to the world they're in and what they're doing that none of the previous ones sort of had, other than here's these characters and we're just gonna move the plot this way with no real rhyme or reason. And it really kind of humanized the characters so that you had sympathy, or you knew why you didn't like this character in the movie. And I think they got pretty good actors and actresses to play the parts with it. There wasn't anyone who, other than Christopher Lambert, he was the only major actor I knew at the time who was in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, Bridget Wilson, I was aware of. She should not have been Sonya Blade, though, because Bridget Wilson couldn't fight. So all of her fight scenes are edited in a really bizarre way.
Which she also had the least amount of fight scenes.
Thank goodness.
I definitely remember being, what time? When did this movie come out? In
95.
95. So yeah, teenager at that point, be appreciating the actress, not trying to sound bad or anything, but I was like, oh, she's pretty.
But yeah, that was the problem. They went with like, all right, hot chick who's an okay actor instead of
actual
actor who can fight.
Yeah.
But like the plot was fine, like Dirk said, or somebody said, I think it was Dirk. They focused on a few characters, and basically everything else was a cameo. Like,
yeah,
Reptile was a cameo.
And the movie was based on fighting, and that's what the movie based on was.
Yeah.
There were fights. that
Yeah.
they actually fought.
Yeah.
And
It's
I mean, you
interesting.
kept the fighting to like 5 minutes, but I mean, there was actual fighting where you were like, "Yes, I really am rooting for these guys in this," as opposed to they're fighting. Okay, I don't care.
Mike, what were you gonna say?
I was going to say, and it's interesting how, unlike in Street Fighter, like you can actually take this is a tournament and hang everything on it. For some reason, it feels like it's easier when the stakes are supernatural in scope and so much higher than then you're able to suspend your disbelief enough to say, yes, it does make sense that these people from all different parts of the world are brought together to fight for whatever reason, because there's this there's supernatural mystical thing going on that's brought them here.
Yeah.
Now, the Street
Also,
Fighter anime did a beautiful job of characterizing all the characters that they focused on, and there were, much like the Mortal Kombat live-action movie, there were like bit parts, like Dhalsim and Blanca and Honda all had, Fei Long. They all had small roles, so you could be, it's Fei Long, and then it's over, like, because they're not central to the plot. Akuma was even in the Street Fighter anime, leaning in against the wall in the back of one shot. The camera just tracked past him, and in some edits, it stops before it gets to him.
It also doesn't hurt with Mortal Kombat. I don't have anything to say about the anime, but with Mortal Kombat, that the actor playing Shang Tsung, I'm gonna mispronounce that.
Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa. That man
Yes.
is amazing.
I mean, what's it say that 25 years later, when they're remaking, or 20 years later, they did the remake of the live action Mortal Kombat's, either for YouTube or another streaming service. They went right to him to be Shang Tsung, and then when they're working on Mortal Kombat 10 and Mortal Kombat 11 and putting Shang Tsung in it, they're going to him. They're not he's not basing the character that he's playing anymore on the video game. The video game is being based on his interpretation of the character.
Oh, that was Mortal Kombat Legacy is the live action thing. That was in 2013.
2013, okay.
And then, Mortal Kombat 11, which is the most recent one, he was voice and physical likeness of Shang Tsung in the downloadable content.
Right.
So he was a DLC character, but he was still Shang Tsung, like 100%.
Yeah. So, like, much like Bison and Raul Julia being the best part of a bad movie, he just really did a very good job of tying everything together. You need to have a good threat if you need to have a good villain, but especially in something where this is combat based, you need to have a credible threat as the bad guy. And he just oozed. You could tell again he wasn't campy like Julia, but he played the part just right.
Yeah.
So certainly a follow-up to this movie would be like at least the second best, right?
Mortal Kombat Annihilation had so many problems, and up to and including the fact that it was released unfinished, which didn't come to light until I think last year.
I didn't know that, but it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, everyone, by the way, I highly recommend you listen to the School of Movies episodes on Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Not just because I was on both of them, but because they're really good episodes, especially Annihilation, where we had so much fun just ripping into this horrible pile of nonsense. And Alex Shaw kept pointing out how, all of the actors, you could tell they were acting against Guy with a tennis ball on a stick, going, okay, this is going to be a monster of some sort. And it turns out the movie that we saw was only like 2 steps removed from that, because it was actually like a work print that got released because the studio was like, that's good enough, just ship it. Like, it's not done. They're like, it is now. Like, oh,
That makes so many scenes just feel either pointless or unfinished. That really makes so much sense.
It makes the fight where, you know, what's the main character, where he turns into a dragon, and you're just going, wow, that looks awful.
Yeah, that was unfair. I'm thinking of the fight where he goes to save Katana, and there's the most anticlimactic fight against Shiva ever. She's like, I'm a credible threat, and he's like, I'm gonna drop a thing on you, and she's like, no. That's literally the fight. I mean, we really could pull this movie apart, but they decided they had a hit with the first one. They were going to do this one. It's always also a really bad sign when like 2/3 of your cast doesn't come back.
Yeah, Robin Shou was the only main character to come back as Liu Kang. Like, Raiden was recast, Sonya Blade was recast, thank goodness. Johnny Cage was recast and then murdered in the first 5 minutes, so it didn't even matter.
I was gonna say I never bothered to find out if he was recast or not, because
At least I'm pretty sure he was. Hang on, scroll.
instead of Lyndon
Johnny
Ashby,
Cage, yeah, it's Chris Conrad instead of Lyndon Ashby. So yeah, totally
worth it. Probably had a day on set.
just awful. But Agosaku in the chat did point out the Mortal Kombat soundtrack is amazing. But that's not what we're talking about. But yes,
one. Yeah. I mean,
okay, we've spent some time on these because these are the formative ones. Let's jump ahead some, or not spend too much time on these. The Tomb Raider movies are also, I haven't actually seen either of the original Tomb Raider movies, but I'm told they're actually good.
I feel like good is giving them too much credit. They're movies. They're actually films that you wouldn't be embarrassed to see in a movie theater.
You can watch them and not go, well, that was time in my life I will never get back.
Yeah, they were fine.
Yeah.
The first Resident Evil movie was interesting because it took the formula, like that there were zombies, but kind of went in its own direction.
Yes.
Yeah, a direction that had nothing to do with anything that we know of as Resident Evil.
Right.
Pretty much, except there were zombies.
I prefer the Resident Evil movie, at least the first one, to Tomb Raider. So.
But I was gonna watch through all the Resident Evil movies. I actually found them all streaming somewhere. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna watch all of these because I've only ever seen the first 2. Let's just make myself sit through it. And when I got done with the first one, I went, you know what? I'm not gonna do this anymore. Never mind. Cause it's a fun action whatever movie, but it's that thing where they were embarrassed by the source material being a video game, because there's zombies. Okay. There's an Umbrella Corporation. Okay. There's other worse zombie monsters. Okay. Oh, there's zombie dogs that one time. Okay. So is there any of the actual story? No. What about character? No. But no. Survival horror? Nope. What? Like, yeah, Ben said in the chat, you mean Resident Alice? Yeah, it's all about just watching Mia Jovovich kick ass. Like, that's all it is.
That's essentially what all of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I saw the second one back in the day, and it was like, it had the Nemesis in it, kinda, and it had, I think Jill was in it, Jill Valentine? But she wasn't the same character. She was just someone named Jill Valentine who was there shooting at zombies. And that's when I gave up on the series as a whole. I'm like, why is this called Resident Evil?
Mm-hmm.
And like clearly they're not like the worst movies because they kept making crap loads of money and people kept seeing them, but they're not Resident Evil movies. They're just called Resident Evil.
I liked the first one because it was played a little more simplistically. Zombie outbreak, underground lab, boom. It ran into what we might call the Kingdom Hearts problem, where, oh, we must make more story. How convoluted can this get? A Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil Apocalypse tracked okay with Resident Evil 2 because it's in Raccoon City, so you got some idea of what's going on. And from there, it just detours real hard. Now, granted, I have not played Resident Evil's Beyond Nemesis, so I can't tell you about all the story and how well or does not well this fits. But I have seen all of the movies except for the very last one. I've seen all the movies except for the last one.
Does not well.
Does not well. Okay. But even if they wanted to do their own thing, first of all, like you said, Resident Evil Alice is fairly apt because it is the main character is OP beyond anything else. If anybody thought that Rey was a Mary Sue in Star Wars, they got nothing on Alice because
right?
she's literally written to beat up everything else. But again, I just feel like the story gets more and more out there. And I was watching one of the very last ones, and it was one where they wanted to have all these cameos from people that had died. So it turned out there was a facility where they were cloning people. Spoiler alert, sorry. And so it was kind of a cheap way to be like, here's all these characters you remember before, and we killed them off, but they're back alive, or are they? And I'm like, what are we doing here? So I still stand by the first Resident Evil movie. Short, simple, to the point. Apocalypse, I can get down with. After that, it starts going, woo.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're not going to go through every movie, and we're going to skip ahead a little bit, but I cannot resist talking just for a second about House of the Dead, because forget about video game movie, forget about any classification. House of the Dead is the worst movie I have ever paid full price for in a theater. I'm very tempted to say it is the worst movie I've ever seen in my life, but there's a lot of competition for that. That's not fair, but it is the worst movie I have seen in a theater, like an actual
House of the Dead falls into its own category because they're Uwe Boll movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys know the producers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The whole thing with Uwe Boll movies is the plot of the producers. They're like, all right, there's this at the time in Germany, this loophole has since been closed, but there was a way that if you made a movie that lost money, then you would get paid. It was some sort of tax loophole thing. And so Uwe Boll made we're doing the podcast, I can't say that. Made crap movies on purpose, and he just slapped video game franchise names on them because he hated video games and the people who play them. And he could get the licenses for cheap, apparently. And literally, he made bad movies on purpose. And there are a bunch of them on here. And that they're part of the reason why video game movies have such a bad reputation is because of him single-handedly.
Yeah. I mean, they started out a little rocky. You heard us talking about Super Mario Brothers and Double Dragon, and we kind of skipped over Wing Commander. But after that, yeah, he did a lot of damage.
Like House of the Dead, Blood Rain, was Postal his?
Yeah.
Alone in the Dark.
Was Alone in the Dark his too?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh my god. Far Cry, was that him? Yup. In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale? Yep. Like, it's...
That Jason
If you look at the
Statham?
movies
Oh my
that have
God.
the lowest...
It is Jason Statham. Yeah, dude.
Mo-
In the Name of the King has Jason Statham, Claire Forlani, Lily Sobieski, John Rice Davies, Ron Perlman, and Ray Liotta, and it is a giant pile of balls.
So it's a House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain 2, Far Cry, Rampage.
Wait, no, he didn't do Rampage.
He didn't do Rampage.
He did. It's the 2009 version.
There was a what?
Oh, that's not video game Rampage.
Yeah, never mind. That's not a video game.
That's
one.
just a movie called Rampage.
Okay. That's all the ones I see that jump out at me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, getting away from Uwe freaking Boll, there's Doom, which no one remembers the Doom movie except for the part that was shot in first person.
The Rock in it. That's it.
It had The Rock in it. It also had Carl Urban, but I don't think at the time... No, this was after Lord of the Rings, right?
What was it? 2000? Yes.
05? Yeah. So yeah, even The Rock and Carl Urban couldn't save Doom, but like I said, other than the two actors and the first person section, no one remembers this movie at all because it was another one that was embarrassed.
It was incredibly weird. To all of a sudden, you spent the entire movie in third person, and then all of a sudden you were in first person for no reason.
Oh, there's a reason because they knew this is the only part of the movie that anyone's ever going to remember.
Like, why in the world would you do that? In reality, without it being, we had to have this video game callback. There is no reason to do it.
The better question, Dirk, is why is not the whole movie done this way?
God,
if the movie had been done in first person the whole way through, that would have been more interesting because that would have been more one of those click and play games where it's
point and click games.
Point and click games where it's you're the first person, you just sort of click on everything. That would have almost been more entertaining to have just had the entire movie behave more like that.
Can we get a scene where the guy passes a med kit and he's like, I'm full, and he runs into the next room and he gets really hurt, so he's got to go back to the first room and use the med kit again. But
suddenly he's better.
But also, there was a movie that was 100%
Hardcore Henry.
Was that what it was called? I never actually saw it.
I watched it sometime last year because it was on, I think, Netflix. It might still be. I don't know. It was fine, but it was shot entirely in first-person mode, and it worked.
Okay.
It was neat. It was novel, but I don't know if that would have worked in 2005.
Probably not. So what else do we have other than Doom?
The first Silent Hill was fine.
Never saw it. I'd never played the game, so.
Sean Bean was in that one.
Sean Bean was in that, and he's not one of the characters that dies, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
What?
That's just wrong on so many levels.
So. But
I'm surprised he signed up for that.
It was like, I never played Silent Hill 2 either, and that's where but I knew the basic vibe of it, and it matches the vibe. It does not match the story at all, but it feels fine. If you don't know the Silent Hill story, it's a fine horror movie. I never saw the sequel, but I heard bad things about it. I'm looking, it has a 10% Rotten Tomatoes score.
Silent Hill Revelation.
Yeah. 10%. Wow, that's rough. Let's see what else. Max Payne had
with Mark Wahlberg. And just bad. The Street Fighter: The Legend of Chun-Li. They tried to do, okay, let's do the thing we should have done the first time and focus on one character, but it was just not well made. It had the girl who played Lana from Smallville, and it was.
Oh yeah,
it was fine. It was fine. I don't think it was bad. I just think it was fine.
Let's see.
It wasn't
here.
good.
Prince of Persia is I
think
saw
that was
Prince of what?
I was about to say that one was when I think they really were trying to get back into we're going to do a video game and it's going to be big budget and we're going to try and follow the original material and everything. It's not a great movie, but I would not consider it a bad movie.
No. It's a fine, like, big, brainless summer action movie.
Did it have
Yeah.
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal was the main character,
Gyllenhaal.
and
Okay.
I don't know how to say her name, Gemma Arterton, excuse me, was Tamina, Princess of Alamut. So it whitewashed the cast, which is, obviously not
And I think
ideal.
that's the biggest backlash from the movie is that it was whitewashed.
Yeah, but like it had the dagger and time could rewind and that sort of thing. That was neat. Like it was, I said, it's a fine, brainless summer action movie, which is where I saw it.
And there was also a twist at the end of the movie as well.
Dirk
Was it
remembers this
all a
movie
dream?
far better than I do.
It was so I think Ben Kingslay's character was supposed to be, he's like the mentor and everything. He's like,
That's spoilers
"Da-da-da-da."
for Prince of Persia, I guess, by the way, everybody.
Yes.
Yes, a movie
that's
that
really
came
old.
out in
That
2010.
that if you
11
haven't
years
seen
ago.
it, then you waited long enough to do it. But I think his character was trying to be the mentor to the prince, only to then be like, all right, you did a great job. You got rid of all your rivals and everything. And now you're going to give me the dagger because I'm going to be the ruler and everything. So Ben Kingsley, the wise, mentor, turns out to be the main villain of the story.
Sounds a bit
Oh,
like
okay then. Well, now you
so-
have no reason to watch that movie.
That's right. I mean,
now I kind
dang.
of want to play a Diablo game where it turns out that Deckard Cain was the host of Diablo the whole time.
Spoiler alerts.
I said I want to see it, not that it's the case. Why don't
So,
you
but
stay a while and listen?
Jumping ahead a little more, we've got the Warcraft movie, which was huge.
It was big. You can tell.
Yeah.
Look at the numbers on that movie compared to all the ones that aren't named Resident Evil.
439 million worldwide, which is way less than they wanted, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Doesn't have a great Rotten Tomatoes score.
I
It's
hardly remember anything
fine.
about it. It was just like
I did not see it.
there were several parts where I was like, who even are these people talking to each other and what are they talking about?
The criticism I heard was that it was basically, it didn't feel like Warcraft. It just felt like generic fantasy movie.
Yeah.
I think the casting was kind of off too. Like Ben Foster as Medivh, the whole time I'm going, no. I know nothing about Medivh the character. So this isn't me taking Warcraft knowledge and looking at the movie. Just Ben Foster. I was like, stop.
He likes birds.
Like, it also doesn't help that the most relatable character was the CG orc. Was
The
it
CG orcs were really, I mean, they did a good
Duratan?
job.
Was that the main character?
Yeah.
And
They were
Duratan
the
was
most
the friendly
interesting
orc.
Wait, what was that?
Doomhammer
What was
was
that,
his
Mike?
friend.
I was agreeing that they were the most interesting character.
Oh, by
Yes.
far, the humans had like no direction. They were just saying lines. Like I didn't care about any of them. But the orcs were better actors and more expressive, and I'm like, this is not a good sign, y'all. Like I enjoyed the movie. I didn't see the major problem with it until later when I thought about it, and I went, oh.
Then we got the Tomb Raider remake.
Oh my god, the new Tomb Raider was so good.
Wow, 52% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's the highest by far.
That is miserably low. This movie was damn good. With what's her name, Alicia Vikander, as Lara Croft. Like this was sort of based on the reboot
Remake.
of the games.
Yeah.
And
I
she's
actually haven't
not
seen this one.
Angelina Jolie, who could do no wrong and did everything perfect. Like she got beat up and banged about and almost died and all of that. And it was just an enjoyable action movie.
So she's more like the Daniel Craig of Bond than the Pierce Brosnan of Bond.
Actually, yeah, that's pretty good.
Huh.
Which I honestly appreciate that change. So
Let's see, we have Rampage, which came out just in 2018,
The Rock.
which again has The Rock in it. I never saw this, but from what I heard, it was fine.
To quote the Mario Brothers movie, we've come full circle. Monkey.
Monkey. Detective Pikachu was like the big outstanding one,
Yeah.
but the problem is a lot of people didn't know that Detective Pikachu was a game.
I mean, everybody had it. It's Pokemon.
Yeah, but Detective Pikachu specifically is a game.
It
I
is.
did not know that
Yeah.
either.
See?
Okay, I'm learning this right now. I
See?
enjoyed the
So
movie.
half of us did not know that. And when the movie came out, I didn't know that. I thought it was just a weird take on Pokemon. But no, it turns out
Yeah,
it's a weird take on a specific Pokemon game, which is in itself a weird take on Pokemon.
I own this one. It's downstairs.
Ooh. Wait, what do you own it on?
Blu-ray.
Okay, never mind. I was gonna
Or
say,
DVD.
dude, can I borrow that? But I don't have a Blu-ray player, so
Or TV. I'll check later.
because it's never streaming anywhere, and I really want to see it. Hang on,
Yeah,
let me get
actually, I
that.
went to see it in the theater. We enjoyed it.
Detective Pikachu. It is streaming on. Oh wait, no, it says right now it's on TBS. Okay, I might be able to watch that then. Sick.
Like, it did have one problem near the beginning with an awkward, like, exposition, with an awkwardly inserted exposition dump scene. But besides that, it was good.
Nice. Once again, Ryan Reynolds to the rescue.
Yeah.
Now, Sonic the Hedgehog came out in 2020 after the famous. They showed the trailer and everybody, ran screaming away from it with their eyes bleeding, and they were like, "Okay, fine, we'll change what Sonic looks like." And thank God.
I mean, yeah. I actually appreciate the fact that they listened to people.
I mean, that's a good and a bad because, like, you don't want gamers to realize that they can cause change by complaining. See also the end of Mass Effect 3. But at the same time, it really was bad, and whoever thought that it was a good idea really needs to be smacked. the original Sonic design. But we watched this as part of a watch party back when I did watch parties, and it's really good. Like, okay, it's really good for a video game movie. But even without that caveat, it's good. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And it's got a sequel in the works with Idris Elba as Knuckles. So that's going to
Really?
be... Yeah.
Shut up and take my money.
And freaking Mario, we get Chris Pratt, and Sonic gets Idris freaking Elba. Yeah, thanks, Nintendo. But like, if you haven't seen it, the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, I recommend it. It is cute, it's fun, it's heartfelt. It's got just enough like Sonic fan service to make you go, like. Highly recommend that. And the new Mortal Kombat. Oh my god, the new Mortal Kombat was amazing. Did any of you see it?
Nope.
Not yet.
Okay. It's a reimagining of the whole thing. It's like a weird cross between Mortal Kombat Legacy, that super gritty live action web series that Brian brought up earlier, and the original movie. But it also takes itself seriously, but not... That's not a bad thing in this case.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because the stakes are, in fact, the fate of the world. Because, of course, they are. It's Mortal Kombat. That's what you do.
Yeah.
But,
What do you think this is? Street Fighter?
like, I really liked the portrayal of all the characters. And there were more characters. Like, you got a new guy who was your point of view character. You got Sonya, you got Kano, you got Raiden, who was not Christopher Lambert. You got Kung Lao. You got several bad guys, Shang Tsung and Melina, I think. And it's been a hot minute since I saw it. I saw it when it was on HBO Max the first time, when it was new. So it's been several months. But it took and it had Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Like, it started off with an ancient battle between clans, and you get to see human guy who would become Scorpion, Hanzo, I forget his name, kicking all sorts of ass. And it's oh my god, it's a case of being true to the source material without, like, following it step by step. So it's a new story, but all of the elements of it are familiar. Sort of like it's sort of like an MCU movie, you know. If you know Iron Man and you watch an Iron Man movie, it's not the Iron Man stories you know, but it's the Iron Man story you know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like that. And it worked. I think it worked really well. Hattori Hanzo, thank you. That was Scorpion's human name. So that's another one that I highly recommend if you like. And it also did the, you know, blood and gore thing, which the original movies didn't do because ratings. Right? Weren't the original ones PG-13 or something?
I think so, yeah.
Why is that not listed on the Mortal Kombat, like, information over here on the side? Weird.
Well, one thing that is where I just had it.
Yep.
The guy who played what's his face?
I don't know.
From Mortal Kombat. Robin Shu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's movies listed from him that are not on this. The Death Race. Death Race was a game, wasn't it?
I thought it was a British film.
There was an old Death Race game, but I don't know.
Because it was one you race around and
had
you
anything to do
like,
with each other.
It was one of those games that, you know, you would actually plow into crowds, and the whole point was to kill as many people as possible while you were racing.
Death
Maybe
Race
it's another name.
is a sort of a remake of Death Race 2000 from 1975, which was based on a short story. So no, it's not a game.
Okay.
You're thinking of, like, Carmageddon or something.
That's what I was thinking. I think it was Carmageddon.
That's the one with the clown.
There was an old, like, Atari or Intellivision Death Race game, so it was most likely based on the movie from the 70s.
It was, yeah, it's still
Probably,
based on
yeah.
the original material. It was just the video game version of it. Okay. Yeah, Twisted Metal is what you're thinking of, Brian.
Ah, yes. With the clown.
Mm-hmm. Sweet Tooth.
Sweet Tooth. So those are the movies that were released in theaters. The most recent one is actually Werewolves Within, which I didn't know was a video game.
I don't know that I've heard of it at all.
Live action.
Wait, Werewolves Within is a multiplayer VR game for Oculus Rift. Okay. Developed by Red Storm Entertainment. Wait, is this just a VR version of Mafia or Werewolf? It is. Okay, so I guess it's only loosely... That's... Okay, that's... I don't know if that should count. I've heard good things about it, I just haven't seen it. It looks like it's fun. It's also got an 85% freshness rating, so, you know.
That's huge compared to... That's
others.
the highest one on here by far. The
Mm-hmm.
next closest is 68 for Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, again, that does not necessarily translate 1-to-1 for quality,
Oh
like
no,
you
not at
said.
all.
Yeah.
So there are a lot more animated films. Like Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within came out in 2001. It was the first
But
all CG movie, which I know.
Yeah,
Well,
like super photorealistic CG.
yeah, there we go.
but it's not based on a video game. It has a video game title. It's made by a company that made video games, but it's not actually based on any video game. So does that
Correct.
even count?
Well, in the spirit of Final Fantasy, for a long time, each one was its completely own independent story and world and everything, just with a couple of some shared elements in the background.
Yes, which this one has the name Sid.
I was about to say, like Sid, who's in this movie?
And that's it.
Yeah,
I saw this in the theater.
me too.
It
Me
looked
too.
amazing, but I'm gonna be honest. Within a few weeks, at the longest, I probably remembered absolutely nothing about the major plot points.
Nope.
It was
Dude,
just I have no idea what went on. Like the most I remember from it was that it looked nice, and the volume in the theater was like way too loud. That's all I
dude,
remember.
this came out while I was working in a movie theater. So I got to screen it, see it like right before it released, and um, I am one of the biggest. Well, okay, I'm sure I shouldn't say this because I'm sure there are many more Final Fantasy fans that are more dedicated than I am. But I was a pretty darn big Final Fantasy nerd, and I was like, I don't, I didn't hate it, but it didn't
Yeah,
hit
it
that
was.
button.
It was fine, sort of.
Yeah.
It was kind of slow. It was kind of boring.
It was.
Like it wasn't. It
Yeah.
wasn't great. It was all right. Ratchet and Clank came out in 2016, 14 years after the original game. Although there was another Ratchet and Clank game that came out, I think the same year, but no one cared, and apparently it's not that great. And then, God help us all, the Angry Birds movie
Ugh.
took
Both of them.
the mobile game and somehow turned it into a movie. And then Angry Birds, that was 2016. And then apparently Angry Birds movie 2 came out in 2019 and
Yeah.
has a 72%. I don't. Okay. I got nothing. I haven't seen
My
either
kids
of
love-
these.
My kids would watch them. They've watched them. I haven't. I mean, I've seen parts and pieces, and it's interesting. There's a plot. I can't tell you much
So I
past that.
hear.
That's
Are there
all I
are
can
there
tell you.
are there aggravated birds?
Oh yeah, they're very. It's essentially just like a kids comedy movie sort of thing is essentially what it is. You got a bunch of dumb pigs that are just being whatever, and these birds who are saying, "Hey, I've got an idea, but let's do it awful." And they're all going, "Yes, let's do it that awful."
And
And
there
then
are
that's what they do. And then they sort of claw their way out of disaster.
and there are piss jokes because apparently that's funny.
So,
So there were also a whole mess of like Pokemon movies, theatrical
whole
and
mess.
not. There was just a mess of stuff released in Japan.
I saw the first Pokemon movie in theater.
Yep.
With my younger brother when it came out, and
Mhm.
I can honestly say I have not seen a single other Pokemon movie.
I mean, from what I understand, that was still the best one by far. Even the recent remake sort of toned it down, some of the themes and moodiness and stuff that made the first one good. So, but I think we've rattled on enough about
in this course,
about old movies.
Let me say this because I'm looking at the animated stuff. Kingslay Final Fantasy 15 came out. That was part of a push where prior to the actual Final Fantasy 15 coming out, they wanted to like create this multimedia setup so that you could get to know the characters before you even played the game. And I think we can debate how successful that was and how it could be. I enjoyed the movie. It was fine. So I thought it was okay. Clearly cash grab, but it was all right.
It
So,
was it was it added to the story of the game
mhm.
and clarified this is what was going on, this is what happened, and blah blah blah.
I
It wasn't great. I mean, I don't think the movie was awful, and I do think that compared to the Final Fantasy Spirits Within, this was significantly better.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
It had a direction, it had a story, it had themes and everything to play with.
I think I would have been a little more confused with the plot of the game had I not seen the movie first. Which you can then debate, hey, is that really cool or not? Shouldn't you just be able to play a game for a game? But I'm not getting into moral questions here.
Because that's morals. So, video game movies started off rough. Uwe Boll crapped on several of them. But as we get, further ahead in the future, video game movies, there's been a distinct uptick in quality.
Yes.
And I think one of the reasons for that, we did not talk about Advent Children because Advent Children is a fan service sequel to Final Fantasy VII. Like, I don't know what to say about it. I played Final Fantasy VII, and I didn't understand what the hell was going on in Advent Children.
I enjoyed Advent Children, but even at the time, it doesn't bring anything new to the story. It's literally greatest hits.
It's like badass cutscenes is really what Advent Children was.
It's badass cutscene FMV cutscenes put into a movie, and it's fine. But the plot is nothing special, and the new characters don't really bring anything to it. So
we also didn't talk about the two Hitman movies because no,
I've never watched them.
I didn't either, but no. But anyway, so yeah, I think the main reason that the further along we get from, the beginning of video games is now these creators who are making these movies grew up playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as, people from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s get older and start making movies, I think we're going to see more and more and more. Because, like, when I was a kid, video games were nerdy crap that nerds did. And then, the PlayStation happened. And suddenly, all the jocks that used to pick on me for playing video games are now playing video games. And I'm like, what the hell, you poser bastards? And it became mainstream. And so now, rather than being a niche hobby that only some kids had, freaking everyone played video games when they were kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be, I think the movies that are based on them that are coming out now in recent times now and in the future are just going to continue to get better and better and better and better and better and not be so much, like crap. So with the Mario movie being cast and us going, and a new Sonic movie in the works with Idris freaking Elba. What? That's so amazing. I figured it would be awesome for us to think about video game properties that, assuming competence, for scripting and directing and all that, what would be good.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what caused this to pop into my head. There was Did You Know Movies or Did You Know Gaming, I forget which, that reminded me that back in the day, John Woo was really excited about making a Metroid movie.
I read a Penny Arcade about that once. That's all I know about it.
I'm like,
it never
I
came
don't
to
know.
fruition, right?
Do what?
It never came to fruition, right?
Oh yeah, never, not at all. But like, I don't even know if John Woo is the right person for a Metroid movie, because John Woo is the flying across the screen in slow motion with guns akimbo shooting people.
He did Mission Impossible 2.
Exactly, yeah, which is the least of the Mission Impossible movies. It's not bad. I've watched all of them, but the most recent one just like a month or two ago, and it's not as bad as you might think, but it's still the least of the Mission Impossible movies. But seeing that, I was like, man, we should do a Metroid movie now. And my brain got to running, and thanks to things like Iron Man, you can do CG armor that doesn't look stupid, which was always the concern. Making the Metroid suit, Samus's power suit, look good was always my main concern for stuff back then. But nowadays, that's a piece of piss. That's nothing. We can do that. We have Iron Man movies that prove it. They made War Machine look cool, and War Machine looks ridiculous. And I really think we could do like a character piece about Samus and about, just take the first game, go stop Mother Brain. There's space pirates. All right, have a party and just drop Samus on the planet and have her encounter these Chozo things. And, she has Chozo power armor. Apparently, I don't actually know any of the Metroid lore. And just let her work through, discover who she is or whatever, something. Or, excuse me, or not. It could totally be a, like, hey, space pirates, Ridley killed my parents or something. I don't know. My dead family. I don't care. I just want to see a Metroid movie that looks good. And I don't think the looks good part is the problem these days. So, yeah.
So, how do you... I have compiled a list of games that I thought might make for interesting movies, both individual games and game series. Do we just want to, like, take turns with this, or,
I mean, just throw something out.
F-Zero.
Okay, I had this thought earlier. Days of Thunder, but F-Zero.
Ah, see?
Instead of Tom Cruise, Captain Falcon. Hell, get Tom Cruise to be Captain Falcon. I don't give a damn. That sounds amazing now that I've said it out loud.
I am all about that.
But I mean, we have racing movies all over the place that aren't, that where, it's more than just racing, which F-Zero actually, especially like the first F-Zero had like a comic book that came with it in them as part of the manual that had like story about Captain Falcon being a bounty hunter and he had to get to the next race, and Samurai Goro, who's the car I always picked, was some sort of criminal or something. I don't know. I don't remember now. It's been a long time.
It's been a long time for me too, and I will be up front. I was horrible at F-Zero. I couldn't get through like the first track. Rented it once or twice, and I was like, but I just thought I wanted to start with one that wasn't like an RPG. Not that I think that RPGs are a bad idea. It's just that there's so much of my go-to that I wanted to start with something a little different. And I was like, yes, F-Zero, because we've had racing movies, but you've got I read the comic book back in the day. You've got some of the like sci-fi meets mafia, can do a little bit of a Mandalorian in there if you want to go with the bounty hunter angle. Really kind of flesh out these characters. And by the way, like supersonic racing, uh, feels like there's a lot you could do with that. So
Yeah. I fully believe that is possible. Like, I don't have a list written out, but that is one that I thought about too.
okay,
And I think
so
that in some cases, games that don't have like a super deep story would make for good movies because there's a framework and then you just build from there. Like
yes.
F-Zero already has the framework built, but there's not much in the way of specifics, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I actually have another idea, where it's like bare bones skeletons, literally. So I thought there's almost nothing about this, so we could do a lot with it. But what's an idea somebody else had?
One I had was Bayonetta.
There's a story in
think-
Bayonetta?
Yeah,
I've never played the Bayonetta games.
I
That
haven't
type
either.
of game doesn't.
I'm aware that there's a story
Oh, okay.
in it, but again, it could be one where sort of like how Mortal Kombat there was fighting, story, fighting, story, fighting, story, fighting. I think that's sort of how Bayonetta would go. There's like she's a witch that like her hair morphs into doing all these super crazy things, and she's got guns everywhere, and so it could essentially just be that. Would be a game or a movie where with CG and everything, she can use her hair to make superpowers and everything, and then she essentially just progresses through like the very first game story in just cut down a little bit. But it's one that I wish I had played the game. I could be more descriptive of this, but I think this is one where you could probably make a game out of it or a movie out of it. Sorry.
Oh, Dementor said there's an animated movie of Bayonetta, and mostly she's just killing angels for their halos. Oh,
There you go.
Killing angels for their halos has got to be a line in an Avril Lavigne song, right? I mean, yeah.
Also,
Mike?
we should say, like, we don't have to be just movies. If something's too complicated for a movie, we could go like the Netflix series, like Castlevania did. It took 2 seasons of the Netflix show to get through the plot of Castlevania 3 on the NES.
Yep.
Granted, they built up a lot and fleshed out a lot of things and went in a lot of directions that the game didn't, but the basic idea is still the same thing.
I honestly would have been very disappointed if they rushed the first season to encompass all of that story.
Oh yeah, it would have been much worse off. I haven't watched seasons 3 and 4 yet, although I need to.
They're good.
You really
Third
do.
season's a little Fourth season is awesome.
My brother is now caught up, and he agrees that you kind of get through the third season to get to the fourth. So
The fourth season
Gotcha.
ended very strong.
yeah.
Good to know. So Mike, what you
Okay.
got? You got anything?
Okay, since we're opening the ideas up to something like Netflix series or whatever, just hearing that, my mind immediately shot to Eternal Darkness.
Nice.
I agree.
It was on my list.
Yeah, because all the
Yeah.
different characters and time periods really served the idea of an episodic thing very well. And then also, if it was, revived in some other media, then they could try to finish out the story arc of the larger idea that they had for the original
Hmm.
'Cause it was
series
gonna
of
be
games that were planned.
It was going to be a trilogy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because
Or
it's not Eternal Darkness. It's Eternal Darkness Sanity's, what, Requiem?
Stan's Requiem.
yeah,
Yep.
there's going to be at least one more, but then they paused because they were going to make a 2 human series, and the first game wasn't received well, so they just kind of stopped doing anything.
Yeah.
Mm.
There were
So
all
would
kinds
this
of
be-
legal issues. Yeah.
And the company wasn't managed very well. Let's be honest with each other.
Yeah.
So would this be survival horror or
Survival horror, mystery.
See, I could see it as sort of how maybe like The Witcher, sort of how there's these different histories that sort of intertwine with each other, or the What If
Mhm.
series
Hmm.
Yeah, it would
where
have to be
everything
some
kind of
kind
ties
of
together in the end.
It would have to be some sort of what's the word for that? Anthology series.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
the first episode and the last episode or something would or in between each episode you would see the things that would tie it all together and you'd go
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is if you do it episodically with that, you can have where I don't see how this has anything to do with it, and then 2 episodes later, you start seeing little hints of, okay, we'll go back to this story, and then you're like, but wait a second, I saw that before in this, and then as you
Mhm.
get closer, everything does start to wrap up as you get to like further into the series, and then you go, okay, now I totally understand how this relates to it. And again, it ties all together in the end, but you start off going, what in the hell is going on? Because it's supposed to be a weird game that you're just going, I'm in different time periods and I don't know why.
Yeah.
yeah.
One
Also,
I had thought.
while
Go
we're
ahead.
on Eternal Darkness, that's going to be a game that I start sometime this month on stream because I want to play something spooky, and Eternal Darkness is pretty damn spooky, so I'm going to stream that this month. So hopefully by the time you're hearing this, I either have already started or I'm about to, because it's, we're halfway through the month already.
Yeah, somehow.
Okay, Dirk, what you got?
Legend of Dragoon.
I know nothing about
The-
Legend of Dragoon.
It's one of Dirk's favorite games.
It is.
He probably knows more about it than
It's
most
like
people.
it's Final Fantasy Light is the best way to sort of explain what this one is. But it has a theme, it has a story, and as you go through the game, you get a better picture of, okay, I understand how all of these things relate to each other. But it's one where again there's a mystery, there's stuff going on, and you're just kind of left going, okay, I have no idea what's going on. It's broken into chapters, so you could easily say, okay, we're going to make episode 1 and 2 chapter 1 of the game, and so on and so forth until you get the whole thing. And probably in one series, one season, you could knock the whole story out. So I think it would be one that could be, it'd be like a one and done series, but I think you could probably do it. Movie wise, it would be an awful game to turn into one movie. It would need to be sort of like Lord of the Rings. It would need to be a movie where you had to have had secured the funds for a trilogy probably to knock out the story and do it justice.
Okay. So Brian, what else you got?
So I've got like 15 things on my list, but
Just pick one and let's go. We gotta hurry it up.
Okay, you know what I think would be a really fun, just a popcorn movie. Doesn't have to have a bigger story or anything like that. Do you remember Kid Chameleon?
Is that a Genesis game, I want to say?
It is a Genesis game.
Yeah.
Here's the whole plot. Apparently there's like an arcade game and it's the newest thing, but kids go to play it and they're sucked in and they die. And Kid Chameleon is supposed to be like, oh, look at me, I'm the big tough guy. So he goes in, and the theme of the game is he puts on different masks, and as he puts on the different masks, it gives him different abilities. It's hard. It's a very difficult game. But I was just thinking, you know what? This is this is almost the opposite of the ones that are very bare bones. This one, the plot is literally here, and it feels so very 80s to me, you know. And I think you could have a lot of fun with that. Who doesn't love the kid getting sucked into an arcade classic story? But you've got the worlds he goes through are varied. Um, the enemies are kind of diverse, and you could introduce um, supporting characters maybe with other kids that are stuck in the game. I feel like it really wouldn't be that hard to do, and I don't envision this at all as some sort of like operatic multi-installment series. I'm talking about something, you know, you release it in July and it's a one and done, and it's just a lot of fun.
Neat.
Thank you.
Real quick, gonna drop in a couple ideas that the Discord came up with because I made a thread for it. 14 said Banjo-Kazooie would make a great kids cartoon movie. Yeah. Dementor said Zombies Ate My Neighbors. And you know what?
Yeah.
I can totally
be.
see
Wow.
Zombies Ate My Neighbors as like a goofy horror movie, like Evil Dead 2 style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get those 3D glasses.
Uh,
Dude, they should shoot it in 3D, and then everyone's going to be wearing the glasses.
Let's see. Alchemist said Destiny could work as a movie, which I don't know anything about Destiny other than like the basic setup, and I think Destiny is a movie.
I've
Just-
heard of it.
except you
but I've
play
never
it.
played it.
It's it's like an MMO game.
Yeah, it's a looter shooter, but it's an MMO.
Right.
14 later said, "Oh my god, a Hades movie," and I went, "Ah!"
How many times will he die?
Not nearly enough, but I don't know if a Hades movie would work because that's some sort of plot heavy. Actually, it's really not, now that I think about it. You don't need all the side stories and whatnot. The basic story of Zagreus wants to escape to go meet his mom, and then here's what happens. Like, that, yeah, that would work fine. Oh, he's like, think Live, Die, Repeat, but with Greek myths instead of space bugs. Hey! Let's see, another couple real quick. No, okay, now in the Discord we're talking about old stuff. Oh, Okami. Ooh, yeah, Okami.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a good one.
And okay, now let's jump back to you guys.
Okay.
Or me. What about Mega Man?
I totally had that, and in parentheses, I had definitely X/0, just because I think there's more to mine there.
See, I was thinking the original, but only because of the Proto Men. Like, the Proto Men already made the story of the original Mega Man games a story.
Yeah.
Hell, make it a musical and make it an actual rock opera. Hell, I don't care. But I think it's doable with the tale of Doctors White and Wily. Doctors Light and Wily disagreeing, and Wily starts doing questionable things, and it creates Proto Man, and then that doesn't quite work, and things go wrong, and then he creates Mega Man, but then not for the purposes of going after Wily, but he makes the mistake of telling him about Proto Man, and Mega Man goes, "What? I'll get him!" And then he goes out and fights. And I'm basically just telling you the plot of Act 1 by the Proto Men at this point. But, like, I really think there's something there. Now, having never played any of the X games other past, the first few minutes of the first one, I got nothing on that. So what about that, Brian?
Dystopian future, robots.
Yeah,
A
there
little,
actually is an anime of like the first Mega Man X game, like just before it happened.
I know,
Oh, cool.
but what if you did this like you did Mortal Kombat Legacy or Legends or whatever it was, where you have like almost a gritty reboot?
Hmm.
Kind of thinking, no.
Well, I think again you could go in and fill in the story a lot more,
Mm-hmm.
update it because it's old anime like Dragon Ball Z style
Yeah.
anime from it. I do think you could probably go in, you could tweak the story, and thread in the reploids and everything, and do go that route. How they when he goes and fights one, do like flashbacks of, yeah, this is when I interacted with him. He was a bit of a jerk, and this guy was great. We hit it off, and when I found out he was joined Sigma, it really just hurt, and how X emotionally matures over the course of the episodes and everything to the
Mm-hmm.
finale.
Huh.
And there's plenty of seasons after that because there's at least 8 Mega Man X games.
Well, but I'm not really envisioning. I mean, I guess everybody's having a different take on this. I'm not envisioning like a scene for scene recreation. Like
Oh no
I'm
no.
looking.
Go ahead.
Like I don't feel the need to like. I know we talked a little bit about which movies in the past have done a good job of sticking with it or not, but I look at these more for inspiration than a strict retelling. So
Right.
like I don't think anybody's gonna be fooled if we do Mega Man 6 and oh look, it's not Dr. C, it's Dr. Wily this time too.
See, I think for me, because video games are, because of the medium they're in, and because a lot of them have very rich stories, you can't and this again, this is the reason why a lot of the movies just tank, is because you can't tell some of these stories in one movie.
Mm-hmm.
You can start to I mean, you've got characters. If there's 15 characters, it's like Game of Thrones. There's hundreds of characters that have significance, and if you're going to say, well, we're going to turn the whole series into one movie, you're going, yeah, that's not going to work,
And
because
that
you have a lot of important characters who are narratively important that they're going to get no screen time. And so for a lot of these, like the Mega Man X movie, I I don't see it as a movie. I see it as a Netflix series,
mm-hmm. But
because that's the only way you could actually flesh out the characters and give all the characters meaning.
Are there
I
that many
disagree.
characters in Mega Man X?
I disagree. Like I don't. I think you're sticking really close to it, but we don't have to have the chameleon and the walrus and like you can just like we did like they did with the first Mortal Kombat movie, just pick and choose the ones that have the most interesting story to tell. I feel like
And the ones you could use in the plot.
you're wanting to adhere pretty strictly. I'm more just using these as a springboard.
Yeah, like
Um,
if you can't tell the story of a Mega Man game in the movie, you're telling the wrong story. Change your story.
Okay.
um, uh,
And you
That
don't
was
have
my
to
thought.
worry that
We-
because you left out one character, you have a big plot hole where it's like, wait a minute, how can he fight so and so without the burst bean or whatever the hell it is?
Oh, a
Dang
burst
it.
bean.
we really I totally forgot, X-Man. Well, I meant like fill in the blank man, not, like Wolverine. But uh no, while I love RPGs, I have the same concern as Dirk of like, first of all, I don't want to tell the same story again. I realize you can do that, but that game already exists, and I feel like the movie would need to bring something new to it. So you know what I had on my list that I think is an almost perfect blank slate? Ghouls and Goblins.
I was thinking that one too.
You were okay, great.
Except that's not a thing.
What? What do you mean?
Well, it's either ghouls and ghosts or ghosts and goblins. But
I've combined
yeah.
them.
Yes.
Well, the movie is going to be ghouls and goblins someday.
Yeah.
There you go. We're gonna
You
make
gotta-
our own because we're going our own direction.
And
Brian
that
and
was
Dirk
also one
Productions.
that I thought of. You were right.
Wow, I really thought I was out on left field on this one.
No.
Wow, okay.
I've been on a
It's
retro
got a
games kick
very
lately.
simple narrative. You could easily create an in-depth story from it.
I do not think we need to have the armor fly off of him all the time.
No.
But at one
Okay,
point,
good.
we have to see Arthur getting attacked in his underwear.
Yes.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
why? This could be any movie. If he's not in his underwear,
Yeah.
then you're missing the point entirely.
I mean, more than once, yes. So yeah. I wonder if you could do something that's not super complicated and not a strict retelling with Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, because
that was Chrono Trigger was one I thought of too, because you could
there
like
are
for a Super Nintendo JRPG, it's really short.
it is
So-
well because it has all the alternate endings, so they want
Yeah,
you to play
but
through
like
it.
you could compress some of that. Like not every time period is super important. Not every party member is super important. You could stick with like Chrono and Marl and Frog and Magus, and I guess you'd have to have Luca in there too, and make that like the central part of the story.
Or just use the setting and explore different characters.
That too, yeah. Oh yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. What if there were time periods where, due to the actions of the main cast, stuff got upset and a new threat rises, and oh darn, they didn't have a portal that went to there, so other people have to pick up the pieces.
Excuse me.
I'm starting to go through these because I realize what time it is. I wrote Punch Out, but that's just Rocky. Contra, any of the Contras, more popcorn fluff, aliens, soldiers. Parasite Eve, I thought was interesting, but again, how do you do that without just retelling the story? Altered Beast.
Altered Beast could be neat.
There you go.
I don't know how, but it could be.
There you go. And Star Fox, which is probably just Star Wars, but for furries. In a movie.
How are you
My
going to
thought
have a
was when I
whole
thought
movie
s-
where everybody says
So whenever I was originally thinking, like, I think Star Fox would be a good one, but in my head, I'm going, it sounds a lot like Wing Commander, like how the plot flows and everything. That it's not. You could make it a movie, and it probably could be done really well. I just don't want it to be lackluster.
Oh, we'll have plenty of luster, but I get what you're saying.
The only additional one I have that I would like to see is Illusions of Gaia. I think that one could be turned into a good one.
Neat.
If you don't, that one essentially it's done by the same people who did ActRaiser, and essentially you go through the ancient ruins around the world, and there's an underlying plot of humanity is sort of being kept ignorant of technology and everything, and the main character essentially goes to these ruins, unlocks what's kind of going on, and then fights the big bad guy in the end. But it would involve the story, again, a couple of Netflix episodes of you go to these different ruins around the world, which would be kind of cool. Of saying, excuse me, you would go to Easter Island, and there would be a story taking place there with the Moa heads, and there would be an episode where you're at Angkor Wat, dealing with the story there, and so on and so forth. I think that could be a kind of a cool one to do.
It sounds like a take on Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego?
A
Which
little bit,
is
yeah.
not an insult, because that actually was done really well.
More quick bits from the Discord. Pinball said that a decent horror game, especially one where actually playing the game sort of detracts from the atmosphere that the game is set up, could make a really good horror movie. And she said like Soma.
I don't know Soma.
Soma, I think, is the one that involves transferring your consciousness into machines to the point where no one is quite sure who's human and who isn't anymore, or something like that. I haven't played Soma, and I only watched a playthrough of it like years and years and years ago when it was new. Dementor said Pandora's Tower or The Last Story, and I went, I don't know what those are, and I'm gonna read what he said, okay? For Pandora, the story takes place at the world's scar, where 13 towers are anchoring the earth so that it doesn't expand. The only thing that can stop the curse from consuming Elena is for her lover, Aaron, to venture into the towers and defeat their masters and retrieve her flesh for her to consume. And my response was, what the and word I can't say on the podcast.
I'm sorry, but when you're using the words flesh and consume, unironically.
I was like, what? And that was like a quick...
I know you just said words, but...
When you put them in that order...
Horizon Zero Dawn, Bonsai said, is a cool like post-apocalyptic adventure story. And, yeah, just the setting of that could be awesome. Control, which is that video game that essentially takes place inside an SCP Foundation. That could be a seriously trippy action horror movie. He also said the Golden Sun games for the Game Boy Advance. But what did he say? The way that magic worked was you had the Djinn system, and characters in your party could equip different combinations of the Djinn that would unlock different classes and spells and stuff. But if you use summons, then your Djinn unequips, which has a drastic effect on, your character's build. And the story starts off as, there used to be magic in the world. Now the bad guys are trying to bring it back by lighting the elemental lighthouses, and the heroes go on a world tour to catch and stop them. I'm like, ooh, that does sound neat, actually. Oh, Chifuji said older movies like The Warriors and Streets of Fire follow beat-em-up formats. And actually, it's the other way around, because The Warriors and Streets of Fire were inspirations for some of the early beat-em-up games. And after he said that, basically any beat-em-up game, you could turn into a good, action movie.
Yeah. There are so many games out there where it's like basically just, some Charles Bronson movie.
Yeah.
Or Chuck Norris, yeah.
It's like, how many games have you seen? It's like The Warriors. Oh, like, but like Final Fight? Yeah. I just played Final Fight 3 for the first time. That's actually really good. Streets of Rage is essentially the same thing, although that one has a neat co-op twist at the end where one of you can join the bad guy and you have to fight each other if you're playing two-player. That's really cool.
Which is the one with the mayor, Hagar?
That's Final Fight.
Okay.
I like the idea of the mayor ripping his shirt off and just going into town to start beating on people.
Yeah.
But like,
hold on, I need to go see to my constituents.
But it's not that far from there to like movies like Walking Tall with The Rock, which was a remake of an older movie, but I don't remember who's in it because I don't care.
Or the bar one with the guy.
Oh, the bar one with the guy. Is this Patrick Swayze? Is that what you're going for?
Yes.
How in the hell did I know that?
Because you are a man of culture.
It's true. But now I can't remember the name. It also had
Roadhouse.
Thank you. Yeah. I was like, it also had the cowboy dude whose name has also fallen off. Oh god.
Sam Elliott.
Thank you. Yeah.
Or wasn't he the doctor in Jurassic Park?
No. What? Oh, no, that was Sam Neill.
Sam Neill, yes.
Yeah. But
there are a lot of doctors in that one.
even even the fantasy themed beat 'em ups like Golden Axe. You can make a Golden Axe movie. Like, there's no plot. It's, hey, Death Adder kidnapped the king and the princess. Let's go kick his ass. And then you go kick his ass. And you can fill in the rest. But as long as you have, the characters, they can basically do whatever and it'll work, So what else we got? Anything else? I know we got more.
I had done ActRaiser, but I don't know how much of that is just because my inboxes or my recommendations are flooded with the new ActRaiser game. That's the remake. I don't know if a movie about a being God is. I mean, maybe there's some entertainment there, but
maybe.
I had Dark Cloud. That was always a really interesting RPG, but like as I've said more and more, I'm like, RPGs are great, but trying not to retell the same stories over and over again.
Yeah.
Oh, and I put down Bubble Bobble for, fun.
Hell yeah, kids.
Because nobody really knows what the story for Bubble Bobble actually is. Carrie and Sam and I actually played it and got the secret ending last week.
Nice.
And the secret ending is like, good job, you saved the fairies. And Sam was like, what fairies? And I'm like, the fairies, duh. And I'm like, I have no clue. I'm just pretending that I know what's going on. So
the ones that were probably maybe mentioned in the manual, but not in the game anyway.
Exactly.
Yes.
So again, blank slate and Bubbles.
Hell yeah, Bubbles. Chifuji pointed out in the Discord, point-and-click adventure games have just enough story that I'm adding to what he said. He brought up point-and-click games, and I think they have just enough story to where if you ignore a large chunk of the actual gameplay, which is what most of these games movies would do. Let's be real. A Metroid game wouldn't necessarily need you to be backtracking to find hidden items.
You don't have the hover boots yet.
Yeah. But
you messed up that ice beam, jerk. Anyway.
I think that point and click games have enough story to be able to be converted into a different medium without too much problem.
Do you remember, was it Maniac Mansion?
Maniac Mansion.
Maniac Mansion.
Yeah, Maniac Mansion could be another weird ass horror movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not even a horror movie. just a weird ass movie.
Yeah,
very
Return to Monkey Island.
Yeah, he mentioned Monkey Island. Shadowgate doesn't have much story, but what's there could totally be a fantasy movie. Grim Fandango, he pointed out specifically, and that made me go,
I would love to see a Shadowgate movie, because I could never finish the dang game, so I'd like to know what happens.
I mean, I can tell you what happens if you like.
I could go to YouTube. I'm just saying I would love to see it play out. But yeah, the whole thing with Maniac Mansion would feel not necessarily survival, but more almost Addams Family to me.
I can see that. I think that things that would make not good movies are ones that are already super story heavy. Like Hideo Kojima. You couldn't make a Metal Gear movie.
No.
Because there's too much. It's too dense. It doesn't make any damn sense. So you would have to you'd have to change so much that why even make it a Metal Gear Solid game or movie or whatever.
Yeah, I got what you meant. Because at that point, it's not really, is it? It's something else. At
that point, you're looking at Double Dragon or Street Fighter, as
or
quality
Mario
where
Brothers.
Or what?
Or Mario Brothers.
Or Mario Bros. Exactly, yeah, where you've changed so much that it's not recognizable anymore. Like, oh, but the character's name was Gray Fox. Shut up.
Sid.
And stuff that's like all plot, like visual novels. I don't think that works because it's essentially what it is like the whole game is story.
Doki Doki Literature Club, the movie. It's not just the game.
Weirdly, if we ever develop ways to mess with the audience outside of the theater, that might work. Like bring back some of that 1950s stuff where there's buzzers in the seats or something. A Metal Gear game movie would have to be a side story. Yeah. Actually, that could work. You tell the story of something else that's happening. But then, like, you'd still have to explain what's going on elsewhere, and that would just bog it down. But I really like the idea of, like, retro games being turned into movies. Because, like I said, because of the openness. Like, there's so much freedom with something like I don't know, Shinobi. I don't even know if Shinobi has a story, to be honest. Ninja Gaiden, while we're on ninjas, like, actually, Ninja Gaiden was one of the first, like, cinematic NES games. And the entire plot, you could do in, I don't know, 15 minutes. So everything else would just be good stuff that you've added in to flesh everything out.
Who doesn't love ninjas? Except for
Right?
the people the ninjas are attacking, so,
And even then, it depends on the inverse ninja law.
Yeah.
You know the inverse, the I think it's the inverse
No.
ninja law? That's where
No, I
the
was
more
saying-
ninjas there are, the less effective any of them are. So if you get jumped by 50 ninjas, they're all going to go down in one hit. But if you get jumped by one ninja, oh dear God, you're in trouble.
This actually makes all sorts of sense. And is consistent with all forms of literature and cinematics that I'm familiar with. So, yeah.
Yeah, the Jedi were such great characters in the original trilogy. Because there's only one.
You could even do like stuff that's just silly. Like
Bubble
no,
Bobble.
I scrolled past it. Like Bubble Bobble, yeah. Oh crap, I scrolled past it and I don't remember what it was now. My brain.
I am legit impressed that no one has said Zelda this whole time.
There's too many.
That's a cop-out.
There's too many,
it's also, yeah, it's too easy. It is definitely a cop-out. Like, sort of like Final Fantasy, every Zelda story is a different story.
Yeah.
Or at least used to be. So as long as there's a Link and a Zelda and a Ganon, it's fine. Speaking of which, I've decided the first video that I'm going to put on the deep end once I get it all made, the new YouTube channel, and it's going to be for scripted, like, focused video essay style content, is going to be on the Zelda cartoon. I've gone back, I've watched it all again, and I took copious notes.
Why?
Because it's better than that, Dirk. It really is.
Oh, it's definitely bad. I will agree with you on that one.
No, better than that. Like, the only bad part of that cartoon is Link. Everything else is amazing.
The main character.
Excuse me, princess.
Yeah, there's that, and which he says at least twice, usually more per episode. And there's him being like a weird PG-13 sex pest. Kiss me, princess. Dude, no. Stop. But if you get past those two aspects, it's a damn good cartoon. Yeah. And I'm gonna go through all that in the first video. But anyway,
I pretty much cleaned out my list. So,
What about Kirby? Would Kirby be a horror movie?
It could be a horror movie. It could be sort of a kids-friendly movie.
Kirby is whatever you want Kirby to be.
That is true. You could
Kirby
do both.
is a clean slate.
Like, you could make it a kid-friendly Kirby movie, and then a couple years later, you could make the Kirby horror movie because Kirby is a little ball of pure power.
But you have a problem right from the get-go that you cannot get around. No matter what you do, the movie Kirby sucks. Thank you. I'll be here all night.
Boo.
Not because it's getting late.
I want to see a Lemmings cartoon. That's what I want. Where someone is trying to stop
Kirby is whatever you want it to be.
These poor stupid lemmings from
I was about to say it kind of no. I know exactly what the lemmings would be. It would be essentially a reskin of Inspector Gadget, except all the lemmings are Inspector Gadget.
Oh, and whatever the main character is, it's Penny and Brain.
Right.
Yep.
It's the main are always like, oh no, they're getting ready to do this. Okay, do this. And it's just them the whole time that they're just like, we're going to go swim in the pool. And that is like, yeah, but you're going to go through these shark-infested waters to get to the pool. And so they have to be like, and so it's constantly them trying to figure some way out to not let the lemmings die. Or to get some of them be like, okay, you guys are going to go do this. Or kind of like how I don't know.
I like this plan. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Sounds like a weird Smurfs-like setting.
Yeah! Except the Smurfs, instead of having a Papa Smurf, the Smurfs are all idiots. Man. What about some, like, classic PC stuff? Like, I don't know anything about Commander Keen, but I know people love Commander Keen. And none of us know Commander Keen, so okay, never mind.
Nope.
No, I don't know very much about it. I just know that he blasts aliens or something. I don't know. I played a couple they were hard at the time that I played them. Too hard for me to want to continue playing them.
That sounds right.
I can tell you one that would be awesome and actually has a great deal of expansion idea.
Ooh.
Is to do X-Wing and TIE Fighter. Since Disney has the rights to it, they could make those because there are stories. And it would be focused solely on, a story thread going through space battles.
Yeah, but now you're getting back into movie properties that are already movie property. Like, that's essentially what Disney's doing with Star Wars, is making lots of series based on different pieces of it.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Someone said something else in the Discord. What was it that made me go, oh? Oh, it's Chifuji again. It's Dementor jokingly said Normie's Beach Babe-O-Rama for the Genesis. Chifuji said, I'm actually curious to see what a Leisure Suit Larry film adaptation would be.
Oh, gosh. I've only ever seen those in the used section at GameStop.
And, like, my first thought was it would be like a Judd Apatow movie. Like with Seth Rogen and that usual group. And, I can already see it.
Like, This Is the End? Yeah.
Yeah, or like the 40-year-old version is a closer thing. Like, totally that.
If we're going to do this, we might... Sorry, go ahead.
Except with a character who wants to get laid instead of the 40-year-old version where the character's just being forced into getting laid.
If we're gonna go down this rabbit hole, we're gonna go the whole way, and it's gonna be, before you know it, we're making Conker's Bad Fur Day, and
You know what? Yeah. That actually doesn't sound bad. Oh man, you know what we could do? We could do like they've done with some of the board game movies, like freaking Battleship, and just pick a game like Rad Racer and have it be about nothing about racing radically.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to say Clue, because that was actually a really good board game movie.
No, we can't have one that makes sense. Just gotta have something that's like, what? Why is this? Whose dumb idea was it to Rad Racer? You know who made Rad Racer, by the way?
No.
Square.
Square's made a lot of stuff.
It's true. But Rad Racer and what was the other old one? 3D World Runner. Early Square games on the NES. I was like, what? Also, I like the way none of us have said something like, the Elder Scrolls, no Skyrim, none of that. Because that's...
Mm-hmm.
The problem with going with
Bethesda...
Bethesda...
Too Game of Thrones.
Yeah, is Bethesda ones have a central story, but it's really short. What really makes them interesting are the side quests and the exploration aspect. And that doesn't really translate well into a show. Unless it's... we're going to go and do this, and then every time you're on your way, it's like there's this linear path to get from where you're starting to where you end, like to the bad guy you're trying to beat, and you just hit every town along the way, and every town has, oh, while you're here, why don't you do this? And that's like 2 or 3 episodes is them doing just shenanigan stuff at every town they stop at. Would be the Elder Scroll version of this. One that would be interesting is BioShock.
That's another thing that was said in the Discord, yeah.
Because it's got you're in a set location, you work your way through, and there's plot points that are revealed along the way.
Yeah, I think the first BioShock would probably work pretty well. I think BioShock Infinite goes a little too far afield for a film adaptation.
Deus Ex would potentially be one. And Deus Ex, once you get through the first sort of game, there is a second game to it. Like that's Human Revolution and Mankind Divided.
I say there are several Deus Ex games.
Yeah, not like the original Deus. I mean, you could do the original one if you wanted to do that, but there's a lot of... I mean, that's the 2 games for that part of the story that have been released, which means that there's a lot more you could tell afterwards, potentially.
So long as you have Adam Jensen somewhere in the story going, I didn't ask for this, at least once, or 15 times, Oh, Ben made a good point. He said if you make a BioShock movie, then you have to deal with all the dudes who think Ayn Rand was smart.
True. That ruins that.
Yeah, shoots that idea down. Never mind. Well, that's okay. You just change enough of the plot to where it's not Randy and it's something else. Phew, dodged it. Oh, here's one that would be good. A Super Nintendo game. True Lies. I bet that would make a good movie.
I think so. But we'll have to get some sort of big actor. I'm thinking Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah. Wait.
And Sigourney Weaver can play the lead female.
Yeah, that I dig it. So it's weird. Like I get the feeling we're running down here.
Oh, I've been down for a while. But go ahead.
It's neat. The things that, at least from my perspective, would make a good translation to film, and things that wouldn't, like things that are already filmic in nature, to me don't seem like it would work. Like the modern or more recent RPGs, like Super Nintendo stuff, you could probably make that work because they were limited by the technology. But like Final Fantasy 15, trying to translate that into a feature-length film, just stop. Because then you'd have to work in the Cup of Noodles side quest and the Cup of Noodles helmet. Ain't nobody got time for that. But and stuff that like I said, Kojima games, just no. He already thinks he's making movies. And he needs an editor. It would be like Zack Snyder. And nobody got time for that. I think you could probably, since all the Grand Theft Auto games are essentially just crime movies, you could make a pretty good Grand Theft Auto game just as long as you drop some character names or locations or something in there. It would work fine. Because as plot heavy as those are, the plot doesn't matter. Not really. All you had to do was follow the train, CJ. And the people who understand that reference just went, oh, God. What does he say? All you had to do was follow the damn train? I think that's what he says. It's the hardest mission in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. But yeah, so let us know. Leave us a comment or hop in the Discord or hit me on Twitter or something. Send us an email. Why not? That's what do you think would make a good video game movie? Again, we're assuming competence from the writers and directors and all of that. No Uwe Bolls, no not much studio meddling, none of that crap, you know. People who take it seriously and want to do it right. Do let us know. And do you guys have any more, or should we wrap it up? I know Brian's done, so how about you other two?
I'm done.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I will end by saying I think some of the other Castlevania stories we could turn into a movie.
I would definitely. I'm hoping that I have not. I do not. I have not heard one way or the other what they intend to do with it, but I've always hoped they would continue those stories through the animated series. Because they only really dip their toe in, but that's just me.
I think the like, especially like the Soma Cruz games, those would probably make good ones. Order of Ecclesia, maybe? That one's weird. That could work. Or even just like Rondo of Blood has enough plot to where you could make that a movie, and then if you want to do the sequel, you could do Symphony of the Night. Yeah. Anyway. All right, then. Well, how about final thoughts and we go to bed?
So, for my final thought, I'm getting older, and one way to track that is because my kid is getting older. She is now 11 years old.
Today?
Yes. And the show is old enough that I actually announced when we were expecting her way back when in 2010. And then I took some time off after, we met her for the first time. So this, as long as she's been alive, we've been doing this longer. Just gonna think about that for a minute. So this was a fun thought exercise, and honestly, these guys know I've had kind of a rough week, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I am now going to go, and I wish you gentlemen and all of you listeners out there a safe time and hopefully doing well. Whether you're listening to this the day it goes up or 5 years down the road. But yes, I'm going to go to sleep now. Have a good night, guys.
Night, Brian.
Good night.
And my final thought is it's adulting is not fun.
It's true.
So,
this is crap they don't tell you when you're a kid, and I don't appreciate that.
yeah. I think my only things so I acquired a Switch, and so I started Pokemon Shield. Trevor has Sword, and so I'm sort of working through that with him and everything. and it's been interesting so far. I'm at the very beginning of it, and looking forward to doing this with Trevor.
Spoilers: you catch Pokemons, lots
Yeah, you
of
do.
them, and I'm sure they're gyms. Is that a spoiler?
Always.
I have never played a Pokemon game.
All right. Well, I'm gonna head on to bed. You guys have a wonderful night.
Night, Zerk.
And I,
Oh, we forgot to mention I forgot to mention on Twitter that MTG Dad said Bionic Commando. Do it in like a cheesy self-owned 1980s style. And you know what? Yeah, because when they tried to do it all realistic and grim with the 3D Bionic Commando game, no one cared. But the original, go goofy with it. Mm-hmm. Because he's got a bionic arm, for God's sake. That's stupid. So lean into it. He's wearing a bright green jumpsuit. He has bright red hair and sunglasses. This is not... Ow, I hit my knuckles. This is not serious. And at the end, he fights Hitler. Or a Hitler... Was it Hitler resurrected or something? I don't actually remember. It was censored for the NES version where he's not Hitler, but he's totally Hitler in the Japanese original. They made a movie starring Sam Elliott, actually, called The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then the Bigfoot. And it's actually apparently not stupid, or not god-awful. So, like, you could make a Bionic Commando movie and lean into the silliness, and it would be great. Sorry, I knew there was something I'd forgotten to mention. So... So how about you, Mike? What you got?
I got the Earthworm Gym cartoon was pretty entertaining.
There was an Earthworm Gym cartoon?
Yeah, there was an Earthworm Gym cartoon series.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Well, I remember it being pretty cool. Who knows whether it holds up. Yeah, I've been like slowly trying. Well, actually, maybe not. I haven't. Maybe I haven't really been trying to get back into my previous routines lately. Busy with other things so long. I still haven't logged back into Hearthstone. It's been like 2 months, so I have no idea what's going on there now. I haven't tried Mercenaries. Don't know if I will. If it even sounds interesting to me.
It feels a lot to me like a crappy mobile game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a couple people have said, I think even your brother said that not that far into it and he already had felt the urge to grind.
Yeah, he told me that too.
And I went, oh. And somebody in the Discord, I think it was Pinball, said the same thing. That overall it's a fun mode, but damn, is it stingy with the ability upgrade currency, and it's stingy with it so that you want to buy packs.
Mm-hmm.
And then in packs you can get coins or whatever they're called for characters you don't have, and that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
yeah,
yep, feels like a mobile game. I'm actually thinking of just dropping Hearthstone entirely.
I guess if I don't go back to it soon, I might end up with that too.
Like, because, Activision Blizzard is so god-awful, and I don't stream Hearthstone anymore because Activision Blizzard is so awful that I don't want to promote any of their crap. And I find myself sitting on the couch playing, and at the end of the month, I'm like, oh crap, I didn't hit Diamond yet. And then I play hard until I get to Diamond, and then I'm like, all right, that's fine. And then... But I'm not, like, doing anything. I'm just playing it because I play it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it definitely makes sense. I had a game like that I
uninstalled a little while ago. Because I'd gotten to the end of the real content and there was nothing else left to do. That was part of it, but then I should have uninstalled it a long time before then.
So yeah, those of you that are in the Discord know I'm recently had some personal crap going on, and it's caused a major disruption with, mental health and feelings of inadequacy and self-worth and all that. And that sort of thing is always going to disrupt your brain. And I want to take advantage of this disruption. And since things are already going to be disrupted, why not disrupt things further by trying to change up some of my routines? Like, I've already left every Discord server I'm in that's not mine. Because I just sit there and scroll through them mindlessly. I don't care what any of these people are saying or doing. But, they're unread notifications, so I have to go read them. And in some of the Discords, those people just piss me off. Why am I in your Discord? Like... So... Yeah, and I'm thinking of uninstalling Facebook for real this time, because it's far more evil than we originally thought. Holy God. And I only play Hearthstone because I play Hearthstone, not because I want to, if that makes sense. So, like, I'm thinking of just getting rid of all of this, and instead of, like, sitting on the couch halfway watching a YouTube video and halfway playing Hearthstone, and not actually getting anything out of either of those things, why would I do that? Instead of actually watching what I want to watch or being back here. I started playing video games for fun again over the last few days. I played through Golden Axe on the Genesis and Final Fight 3 on the Super Nintendo. Just because. Actually, it was to distract myself from existential dread. But, like, still, I enjoyed it. It was fun. And I haven't played video games for fun, other than, like, Hearthstone on my phone, for, oh God, years now. Because any game I'm playing, I'm like, oh, I should be streaming this, or oh, this could be content. It can't all be content. Like, I'm looking at Launchbox now, and while I'm trying to get this number down significantly, at the moment I've got almost 12,000 games on Launchbox. That's insane. There's no way I could even remotely make content out of any of those of any sort.
Yeah.
Or out of all of those in any way. So, like, I'm trying to get rid of the stuff I don't want and then focus on the stuff I just want to play. How novel. Playing video games for the sake of playing video games. What? Excuse me. So, yeah, sorry to interrupt your final thought there, Mike. I completely forgot that that's what you were doing until I did that. But my point was, I'm trying to take the bad situation that I find myself in and use it to my advantage to improve myself.
Yeah, no, that's a really good call. And that's something I've been thinking about too, with the general disruption to my routine from earlier, just because I was so busy with other things, like taking a step back and saying, okay, what do I actually want to go back to doing again?
Yeah.
What is it that I actually enjoy doing, was actually enriching, and wasn't just a time waster that I'd happened to pick up along to occupy myself because I didn't have anything better to do.
Yeah. It's kind of freeing in a way.
Yeah. So there were a lot of little habits and things I read that would take up a lot of time because I had just accumulated so many of them. It was stuff that I would go get every day, every other day, once a week, however often it updated. Some things I would check on every day, even if they didn't update every day, because, they used to, and who knows, they might start doing it again. There was one website where it didn't update for months, and then finally it finally did update, and it was so stupid and crappy. I was just like, wow. And I deleted the bookmark. It's like, that's it. just no point in trying to keep up with that anymore.
Yeah, it is a weird thing where, like, you acquire all these little things that you do, and then they pile up on you until that's all you do.
Oh yeah.
And I know I've purged these things in the past, but it's never been like a conscious, all right, I need to stop this and rethink my life. It's always been, all right, I spend too much time playing Final Fantasy Record Keeper, and I don't actually enjoy it, so I'm just going to uninstall it. But I've never, like, looked at all of the things I do as a whole. I realized a while ago, I got the itch for, like, the Dota Underlords itch a few months ago. But Underlords, the last time it updated was November of, I think, 2019. Something like that. Hang on, I still have it bookmarked. It was... Sorry, 2020. Yeah, November of 2020 was the last time it updated. So it's been almost a year, which means that Valve has abandoned the game. So I tried to learn Teamfight Tactics to scratch the same itch, and I got into it for a while, and then all of a sudden I realized I'm not watching, these videos that explain what the new patches are anymore, and I'm not playing anymore. Huh. It had the opposite problem. Teamfight Tactics updates like once a week, to the point where I couldn't learn anything because suddenly everything changed. So I don't know what's good anymore. And I don't play enough to like study that sort of thing. And I just lost all interest. But anyway, this is Final Thoughts. Hey, look, we got all deep over here on the Final Thoughts instead of on the odds and ends. So I guess we'll count that as my final thought too.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Other than, I've had some crap going on lately, and apologies, streams have been spotty, and whatnot. So, but the source of the problem has been identified and dealt with. So now I'm just dealing with emotional fallout, which is the fun part. But yeah, things should be picking back up. I already met with my designer to figure out a logo for the deep end and all that. It's gonna be good. Yeah, hell yeah. But with that, let us go to patreon.com/themanapool and remind you that you can go there, become a lifeguard. It's going to be very important once I get the deep end up and running, because that's where the videos are going to go early for you guys to check out for me and be like, Chewy, you idiot, what is this? I'll be like, whoops, I'm an idiot, and I'll have to, it's for content. You guys are my test audience, my beta testers, essentially. So I need you for that. And it's going to go to everyone, no matter what their patron tier. So feel like throwing $1 in to help a brother out, go for it. Because the end result will just be a higher quality product, which is what I'm going for. This is a brand new thing that I've never done before, and I'm finally putting it into motion. So yes. But let me thank our mythic lifeguards before I forget. Let's do it by this order. Sure. So let's thank Connor Kennedy, Violet Moon, Al, Team You Hellas Haryu, The Beast Father Aaron Goodwine, Stan, Scuzzo, PJ McMullen, Mike, John Parker, Jason Kaus. I hit my toe. Ow. Hang on. Casey, Jake Jansons, Mr. Dr. Lewis, Jason Doan, Andrew Hunt, Gothic Man, Kim Ho, Cody Buckowing, ALK Alters. Huh. A couple that are missing. Aleph Cat and Jeff Spencer. There we go. Yeah. So with that, we will be done with this long-ass episode. Episode 634. Hope you enjoyed our video game movie nonsense. Like I said, please let us know a video game that you think would make a good or bad movie, because I'm always curious what people think would work and why. Like, not just, hey, this would be good. Tell me why. That's the interesting bit. And then I hit my elbow, so we're gonna stop before I injure myself further. So, this has been the Manipool number 634. Thank you so very much for joining us, and go play some video games, and watch movies, or watch the new Mortal Kombat. Damn it.